This is our joint meeting of the City Council, successor agency to the Redevelopment Agency, Public Finance Authority, the Public Utility Authority, Housing Authority, Paris and Powers Authority, and the Paris Community Economic Development Corporation of the City of Paris. Is Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. My call time is 6:38 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Nava,
Present.
Councilmember Corona,
Present.
Councilmember Rabb,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, Mayor Vargas.
Present, thank you. So just for transparent purposes, Councilman Rabb is joining us on Zoom. He's located at the Holiday Inn, located at 154 Palmdale Road in the city of Victorville. And Ms. Rogers won't be with us. She'll be out ill tonight. Therefore, all votes will be conducted in a roll call fashion. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be led by Pastor Joe Munoz from the Vida Christian Church. Come on up, sir, to the podium. If you please join us for the invocation by standing, and then remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Nava.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you. If you guys may, please join me in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this evening. We incline our hearts, we yield before your presence, and we ask you, Lord, as these matters are discussed and debated, Father, let us first honor you, Father, before all things. And Lord, as we have spiritual leaders, we also have governing leaders in our midst, Father. We ask that you would bless them, Lord, prosper them, Lord, keep them in sound mind and sound heart and body and spirit, Lord, and prosper all those that are involved in this city, Lord. We go to you, Lord. We seek your guidance. In Jesus' name we pray. We all said amen. God bless you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank
Pastor.
you, Pastor. Please join me in saluting our nation's flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item 5 is our report on closed session items. Mr. Koo.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council met in closed session on the closed session items as listed on the agenda. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you. Item 6 is presentation announcements. We have none this evening. Item 7 is our Youth Advisory Committee. This will be given by Yaneli Torres, our Vice President.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, and City staff, good evening. My name is Yaneli Torres, and I'm honored to serve as the Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee, otherwise known as YAC. Tonight, I'm pleased to provide you with an update on the recent and upcoming events organized by YAC. YAC is excited to announce our rescheduled park cleanup from January 20th, 2024 at Liberty Park, located at 1040 Kestrel Gate, to Saturday, February 24th, 2024. Check-in is at 7 a.m. and we start at 8 a.m. Additionally, on Saturday, February 17, 2024, YAC will participate in the Black History Expo by assisting in the event and the Community Peace and Unity Walk. Lastly, YAC is eager to announce our recruitment and application process beginning on Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. The deadline for submission is Friday, May 31st, 2024. The application can be found on the city website or at the Statler Youth Center. To stay updated on our activities and events, we invite everyone to follow us on social media at Paris YAC. Regular updates and information about upcoming events will be shared through these forums. For any inquiries or additional details about YAC or the events mentioned today, please feel free to contact the Statler Youth Center. In closing, YAC would like to emphasize the importance of staying safe and healthy. Thank you for your attention and continued support. Together, we look forward to creating a positive impact on our community.
Thank you, Yaneli. Item 8 is our public comment. This is the time when any member of our public may bring up any matter to the attention of the mayor and the city council. that is not listed on our agenda. I will limit it to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Jillian Menez.
Hello, my name is Jillian Menez. I was born and raised in Paris. I left for college in 2018, and I returned to a city that I do not recognize. It is a city that you have allowed to be consumed by warehouses, and you continue to allow it to be taken advantage of. At this time, I'm speaking directly about the warehouse project on Mapes and Getz Road, the one across the street from the preschool. But I also want to make it known that I vehemently protest the rezoning efforts of Ramona Expressway as well. I know that you know the environmental and health implications of this project. I know that you understand how much this is going to harm our community's children and a community as a whole. You understand the harm that the warehouses have already done to our city and the harm that they will continue to enact if left still unchecked. I'm not going to waste my breath or my 3 minutes describing this harm, as I know you are very well informed. Instead, I want to address the council members directly. Mayor Vargas, we all already know where your loyalties lie. We already know who lines your pockets and writes your checks. Anything we address to you will fall on deaf ears because your interests are only with yourself and not your people. You have personal monetary interests in allowing the warehouses to take residence here, and you do not stand with your people. You are up for re-election this November, and I hope that you remember that. I wish to address the rest of the council. Councilman Corona, in the last city council meeting, you mentioned how you saw plans for this development in the past, and you were hoping it would lay dormant and die. You said that you wished you could do something about it. And I'm here telling you that this is your opportunity to do something about it. You have the backing of your people, you have everyone in here, hundreds who've signed petitions, and even more that will undoubtedly support any measures to repeal these plans once they are properly made aware of them. You can count on us being on your side should you choose to do the right thing. Councilwoman Nava, you are the only one who voted no to the new plans in the last meeting, and we saw that you moved to table the vote for another time. I see your action and appreciate it. We see that you understand the issues with this development, and that makes me hopeful that we may count on you to actually represent the community in this upcoming fight. Councilman Rabb, again, in the last meeting, you mentioned how you were unsure why it was passed in the first place 14 years ago, and that is a bad plan. Back up that assessment and stand up against the project. Councilwoman Rita said absolutely nothing. I stand up here and I beg you to back up your words with action. Quit sitting on your hands and pretending that they are tied, and do something to halt this ludicrous development that you have admitted should never have been approved to begin with. Protect this community, do something. We see you, and I promise that we will remember who you are and what you do when it comes time to vote. Thank you.
Elaine Riyadh.
Good evening. My name is Ahlam, and I am a lifelong resident of the city of Paris. I'm here today to express my strong disappointment and frustration with the outcome and conversation 2 weeks ago surrounding the ceasefire resolution. With the exception of Councilmember Nava, I myself have spoken and met with each of you here today. The Muslim community has met, spoken, and engaged with all of you. Mayor Vargas, I remember when you spoke at our prayer in 2022. Rita Rogers, I remember when you spoke at the Islamic Center. And Councilmember Rabb, I myself and many of my friends remember when you attended the Islamic Center, got to know us over 10 years ago, and I still remember when you played Mafia with us that lasted until the end of the night. But it saddens me to say that we were played for as fools. Councilmember Rogers is not here today, but I'd like to educate her on an ignorant statement she made during the meeting. She stated that there was 1% Jews in the city of Paris and 0.5% Islam. Islam is a religion. People who follow it are Muslims. That statement should have been there are 0.5% Muslims. That is not a complicated thing to grasp. There are over 2 billion Muslims in the world, and I'm not sure why that was repeated 3 times, and once again by Mayor Vargas. That is an extraordinary level of ignorance, and the entire audience sat there listening to that. Secondly, Mayor Vargas, Councilmember Rogers, and Councilmember Rabb, each of you claimed your decision to vote against the resolution was determined completely or in part due to the fact that the input was one-sided. You mentioned that there was no input from opposing views in our community. My question to you is, whose fault is that? Is that my fault? Should I have been canvassing the city of Paris? Is that the Islamic Center's fault? Should we have been going and knocking on doors? Is that Council Member Corona's fault? Does he have a different job description than everyone else? Or was that your fault? Did you fail to take that initiative weeks ago when it was on the agenda to engage groups who may potentially have an opposing viewpoint? You failed to take that initiative, and then you stepped back and laid on that excuse, almost blaming the audience and Council Member Corona for that. Surely, you could have promoted it to your personal networks. You could have promoted it on the City of Paris social media. And aside from that, many members of the Jewish community were in attendance. Council Member Raab, if your family was in Gaza right now, this issue wouldn't have been a complicated foreign issue. I'd like to end by saying thank you, Council Member Corona and Nava, for your support. We appreciate you standing for the truth, regardless of whether it jeopardizes your political or career.
Carla Cervantes.
Hi, Council. Good evening. My name is Carla Cervantes. I was here last time to oppose the warehouse that is being built less than 200 yards away from the Rob Reiner Preschool. My daughter attended there 7 years ago, and thankfully she's not there now, but a lot of my nephews are going to be there. And it makes me really upset that I know that they're going to be suffering from the traffic and the diesel emissions and the hazardous chemicals coming in and out of that facility. It's 3 million square feet of just industrial house right there. I'm not sure if any of your children go there, but if they do, I'm pretty sure you guys are going to pull them out and put them somewhere else, because why would you guys want them there? They're going to be at higher risk for cancer, higher risk for respiratory illness, higher risk for asthma, higher risk for so many other things. And the only thing I heard is like, well, it was approved 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was underage. I didn't even know this plan was going on. So last time that I spoke about it, Mayor Vargas said, well, did anybody speak up about it then? I couldn't even vote. And what are you even talking about? There's documents that have been leaked that you know where your loyalty stands. It's with these warehouse developers. You're a joke. And I'm so glad that you're up for re-election, because you shouldn't even be representing at all. And fortunately, Nava, she tried to table it, and you guys decided to continue to move forward with it. And I know that the carpenter union came and they needed the job for the year. And union workers, that's great. I think it's really great that they're standing with their union. But a lot of the people who are going to be working there after the warehouse is built are not going to have those opportunities, because they're going to be getting paid crap. A lot of the people who work at these warehouses is because they don't have a choice. They don't want to commute an hour away to go work at another job. We don't have enough jobs to sustain people here. I'm pushing my kid. She's on the honor roll. I'm pushing my nephews. I'm pushing all of the people in my community to try to do better. And a lot of these kids, they're looking up and down. They're saying, why even go to school? Why even do it if I'm going to be working here? And you guys are just so disappointing and disrespectful that you guys see us as nothing more than warehouse workers. It's a joke. It's really such a joke. And it's just so disappointing that I have to sit here and continue to talk about these things. It's harming our health, physically, mentally. It's harming our environment. It's harming my property value. It's so disappointing. Our topography here cannot sustain this. They should have never been built here regardless. I understand that there has to be compromise. I get it. I know that now we're ordering during a time where everything's online. I understand that. But what I don't understand is, why couldn't it be mitigated to a specific area? Why is it being next to schools, next to residents? Wake up. Seriously, just wake up. You don't have that much time left. I'm glad you're up for re-election. I'm going to do everything I can to get you the hell out of here, because you do not deserve to sit where you're sitting right now in a position of power. Thank you.
Thank you.
Franco Pacheco.
Good evening. My name's Franco. I've came here today to speak to the council and the mayor. I've spoken with a couple of you members before, and I just can't stand by while the city where I grew up in. I was born in Riverside, and I grew up here in Paris all my life. And it used to be very beautiful here. You know, we didn't have big warehouses just for miles. Recent reports show that we are number 5 in the Inland Empire with the most warehouses in the whole area of Southern California. And I don't know if you guys on your drive today had a look at the mountains where you saw the snow caps, right? And you could see the brown haze of smog. This area of Southern California has been named the smog belt by our own state. We have one of the worst pollutions in the state, and it needs to stop. And the first step in doing that is for the council, the mayor, everyone to call on a resolution or a motion. I don't know the specific verbiage for that, but to stop any new warehouse development. We just had a vote on a special election that nobody knew about taxing the warehouses because they've been tearing up the roads. And I remember when I was a teenager, when these warehouses were proposed, it was supposed to be good for the community. They were supposed to bring all types of commerce and business here, things that help us, right? They were supposed to fix the roads. We didn't have roads. The freeway was a 2-lane freeway back then, right? It's a 3-lane now, but it was supposed to bring a lot of new things to the area, but it hasn't. All that's brought is more trucks and not good jobs. And it's sad to see that every time a warehouse gets proposed, and I'm watching the online video of these meetings, it seems like you guys have priority over the developer's interest than the interest of your own residences. I spoke with Mayor Vargas specifically in his own council chambers or whatever in a meeting, because he wanted to talk to me personally about warehouses. And he told me he stood against warehouses. We wouldn't see any rezoning, any new warehouses under his watch. All these warehouses that you see popping up were under the previous mayor. And that has become evident to me to be a lie. And we know, we've seen the leaked document, and it cannot be I cannot believe that he sat there and looked in my eye and just lied to my face about this. And I'm also glad that he's for re-election, because I'm going to do everything in my power to get him out of here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Thank you. All right, before we move on, I do have an item regarding item 11C. A letter has been received from the applicant withdrawing the project in its entirety. The letter has been provided to the city council. This item will not be discussed or considered by the city council because it has been withdrawn. That's item 11C. All right, moving on, item 9 is approval of minutes. 9A is consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on January 30th, 2024. The city council and all the other agencies is listed on our agenda. If there are no comments or questions, I'll call for a motion. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava.
So, Mayor, I don't have my thing working, but I'll second that.
It'll be second by Councilman Nava. Corona. Can you please call the vote? Can we get someone up there to check Councilman Corona's screen?
Councilmember Nava,
Yes.
Councilmember Corona,
Yes.
Councilmember Rab,
Yes.
Rogers absent, Mayor Vargas,
Yes.
4-1, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 10 is our consent calendar item. I got to scratch. I have to move up one of the items. 12B. We have our federal legislative representative here, our lobbyist from Washington. So we're going to move up item 12B so we can get him back on his plane. Jason, are you here?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate the time. Greetings from Washington, D.C. I just wanted to briefly introduce myself to members of the council and the public. My name is Jason Browdy. I'm a federal liaison and federal lobbyist for the city of Paris, based in Washington, D.C. I did grow up here in Southern California, and I do have some great roots, great city of Paris. I was telling the mayor a little bit earlier that my grandmother lived in the area before I was born. So appreciate all that you do and the hard work that we've all done together. I did want to just briefly give a brief update of some things that are going on in DC, some meetings that the mayor and had earlier this year, some meetings that city staff and I have had, and some meetings that the mayor, myself, and Councilman Rabb have had last year as well. And just give you an overall update of what's going on in Washington, and to be completely frank, things that aren't going on in Washington as well. So without further ado, I'll dive right in. So last year, there were 27 bills that were actually signed into law at the federal level. That's much different than what we see in Sacramento, where there's thousands of bills that are actually signed into law. Of those 27 bills, there were about 10 on top of the 27 that were vetoed by President Biden. The most important bill that we're working on and keeping our eyes on right now is the funding bill, because within that funding bill are two important projects that really tie to the city of Paris, and another one as well, which has a direct impact to the city, and it all involves funding. I'll talk about those now. The first is a funding opportunity with the City Paris Senior Center. Congressman Takano put forward $2 million initially for that project. Unfortunately, that amount did slash to $1,050,000, but that is the amount that is in the funding bill as it stands right now for the City of Paris Senior Center Expansion Program. I will say that the mayor was a big advocate, and thank you, Mayor, for your help with in partnership with city staff and the whole entire council for helping move that. Councilman Takano really embraced that project, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that it will be signed into law by President Biden later this year. In addition to that, a code enforcement body camera pilot program for $200,000 was also submitted to the city to Congressman Takano. That amount was not slashed, and the $200,000 is still on the books in full right now in Washington, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that that will be signed into law as well. Timeline on that is hopefully in March, but there is a chance that another continuing resolution could be passed, which means they'll kick the can down the road for funding, and we'll have to wait potentially another month or two longer. It is an election year in Washington, so we're optimistic that they will get that passed ASAP. I also want to mention that there's a $500,000 earmark in the legislation also for the MetroLink, and that program directly impacts the city of Paris because it's to expand MetroLink capabilities between Moreno Valley and Paris. So that's another $500,000 as well that Riverside County Transit submitted, but will directly impact the city here. I will just want to bring up a few meetings that staff and the mayor and Councilman Rabb had last year and earlier this year. We had a very good meeting and productive meeting with the Department of Transportation. At that meeting, we did inquire about some bridge funding opportunities that the city was potentially going after. Right now, we're still brainstorming on the best way to approach that, and I know staff and myself will keep the council and the mayor updated on that as we move forward. I will say that these federal grants are highly, highly competitive, so we'll do our best to push them, but I just do want to put out realistic expectations that they are very tough. The earmarks are a little bit easier to get, and I'll touch on that again and what we're applying for next year. We also met with Senator Butler. The mayor had a very good meeting with Senator Butler, who recently took over Senator Feinstein after she unfortunately passed away. She was sworn in late last year and really has taken a hands-on approach, has done some great things in the United States Senate. We look forward to working with her office and the city to push opportunities for the city of Paris. Last year, Senator Padilla met with the city of Paris, his office, I should say, met with the city of Paris to talk about funding opportunities. And Senator Padilla did submit the City of Paris Senior Center expansion to Senate and Appropriations Committee. That was directly because of Mayor Vargas's leadership and really pushing that forward and meeting with Sam Mahood, who is Senator Butler's staffer in Washington, D.C. And we were able to get the senator to put that into the committee request. And again, that also piggybacked on what Congressman Takano already put in, which was the $1,050,000 I spoke about earlier for the expansion program. In addition to that, this year, our focus has been a little bit different than last year. Last year, we were talking about infrastructure a lot. This year, our focus has really been about public safety, which I know is vital right now in the state of California and to the city of Paris. So our requests this year are really going to be based upon public safety. Let me talk a little bit about those now. The first is something called ShotSpotter. And what ShotSpotter does is it's able to pinpoint when guns go off, and is able to differentiate if it's an actual gun versus a firework versus some other type of explosion. And we really look forward to hopefully getting this funding to, help the city of Paris with safety efforts there. It's a $2.5 million ask, more than like that we're going to be putting in for this ShotSpotter program. In addition to that, there's going to be a $1 million license plate reader / camera program as well, that will be surveillance camera program through a company that we work with called Flock. And that program has been very, very successful in multiple jurisdictions throughout Southern California in making sure that crime is cut down. And this is something that Congressman Takano really was supportive of when the mayor met with the congressman earlier this year in D.C. And actually, the congressman talked about the need of really pushing this nationwide and really leaning on what the city of Paris is doing at a national level because of our great work that we've all done together here in Paris. And on top of that, I would just mention that we did have a change of leadership in D.C. In the House. Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who did come from California, from the Bakersfield area, was not reelected, was removed as Speaker and recently actually retired from Congress altogether. We have a new Speaker, and Speaker Johnson from the state of Louisiana. Unfortunately, we did probably lose a little bit of California influence that we had with Speaker McCarthy running the ship in the House, but we do have great leadership with Congressman Takano, and I know that many of you on the council have a good relationship with his office and him personally, and we'll keep advocating. Like I said, I do live in D.C. full-time, and I talk to his office on a regular basis. With that being said, I'm happy to answer questions. I just want to thank all of you for your time today, and it's an honor to work with you all and represent the city at the federal level.
Thank you, Jason. Councilman, any questions? Councilman Rabb? Well, thank you, sir, for that presentation. We appreciate your representation for us in Washington, D.C. It makes a big difference having a voice out there. We do get to go up there and do our fair share of asking, but to have you there all the time, it just enhances that program. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, item 10 is our consent calendar. Consent calendar items are normally enacted in one motion. The mayor or the city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Council, anybody have any questions or comments? Councilman Rabb?
No questions or comments. Move approval.
I have a motion by Councilman Rabb. Well, technically, Maricela jumped it to you. You want to do a second?
That works. Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Rabb. Is there any public comment on this item?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wishing to speak on this consent calendar item? Okay, hearing and seeing none, please call a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rabb?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, absent. Mayor Vargas,
Yes.
4-1, motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, item 11 is our public hearings. 11A is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order regarding annexation of DPR 22-00020 to CFD 2001-3, that's the North Paris Public Safety District. Annexation number 61, DPR 22-00020, Industrial Building is located on the south side of Markham Street between Webster and Patterson Avenue. This is going to be introduced by our Director of Finance, Mr. Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Tonight, we will have Daniel Louie from Wildan Financial.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. These two resolutions on the agenda are for the annexation of property for DPR 22-0000 to the Public Safety CFD 2001-3. At the meeting on January 9th, 2024, the council adopted a resolution of intent setting the public hearing for tonight. Therefore, we request that the city open a public hearing on this annexation. If there are no protests, adopt a resolution calling for a special election. The property owner has waived their right for a waiting period, so they may conduct an election tonight. And finally, once the election is conducted, adopt a resolution declaring the results of election, ordering the annexation, and a recording of a notice of special tax lien. With that, I conclude my presentation and am opening up for questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Council, anybody have any questions, comments? Councilman Rab?
No questions.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:10. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak at this time? Councilman Rab, do you have any persons requesting to speak out there?
No one here.
Okay, thank you. I still got to ask, though. All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:10. I'll call for a motion on the first resolution. I have a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rab?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, absent. Mayor Vargas?
Yes,
4-0, motion approved.
thank you. Madam Clerk, can you open up the ballot, please?
Community Facilities, District Number 2018-02, Public Services District of the City of Paris, Annexation Number 22, Special Tax and Appropriations Limit Election. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll look for a motion on the second resolution. A motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Corona. Please call a vote. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rab?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, absent. Mayor Vargas?
Yes. Yes,
4-0, motion approved.
thank you. 11B is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order regarding annexation of DPR 22-00020 to CFD 2018-2 Public Services District. Annexation number 22, DPR 22-00020 Industrial Building is located on the south side of Markham Street between Webster and Patterson Avenue. This will be introduced by Director of Finance, Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor. Again, this item will be presented by Daniel Louie.
Thank you.
Good evening again, Honorable Mayor and council members. This project is the same as the project for 11A, annexing into CFD 2018-02 Public Services. So we request that the council follow the same procedures as 11A to hold the public hearing and approve the resolutions tonight.
Thank you. Councilman, may I have any questions or comments? Councilman Rab?
Oh, no questions.
Thank you. Okay, this time I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:13. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody in the audience wish to speak on this item? Councilman Rab, do you have anybody that wishes to speak in your area?
No.
Thank you. I'll close the public hearing at 7:13. And I'll call for a motion on the first resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Corona. Please call a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rab?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers? Absent. Mayor Vargas?
Yes,
4-0, motion approved.
thank you. Madam Clerk, can you open the ballot, please?
Community Facilities, District Number 2001-3, North Paris Public Safety of the City of Paris, Annexation Number 61, Special Tax and Appropriations Limit Election. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion on the second resolution.
Move approval.
I have a motion by Councilman Rab. Second by Councilwoman Nava. Please call a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rab?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers? Absent. Mayor Vargas?
Yes,
4-0, motion approved.
thank you. Okay, item C, this has been withdrawn from the applicant, but this was done this evening, so we do have some speakers that signed up to speak. I will still allow them to speak, 3 minutes each. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, we do, but I believe. One moment, sir. Nanette Placentia? Carla Cervantes?
Hello again. So I see that there's another thing. It's going to be another warehouse. You guys know where I stand with warehouses. I was just here. So another reason why warehouses are just really, really bad is that they don't create sustainable jobs. I have a brother who is wheelchair bound. He's really, really smart. He's on his way to getting a bachelor's. Whenever we need anything, we go to him. He's just really, really intelligent. But unfortunately, he cannot work at a warehouse. He has disabilities. I used to work at the library, and we have a lot of people that would come in, a lot of the patrons, groups of people, young adults, older adults that have disabilities that go into the library to just be able to cool off or to have, just some sort of a social place where you don't have to spend any money, and also looking for jobs in the area that they can go to. Some of them have impairments, they can't see really well, or just a number of disabilities. And to them, they have to stay on disability checks, even though they don't pay a livable amount. It's just to be able to get you by, right? But they cannot go and work at warehouses. They literally cannot. They're not able to. So if we can stop creating warehouses and make it so that there can be an area where they can actually work and make a living for themselves. A lot of warehouse jobs, people who work at these warehouses, they don't get paid a livable wage. They discourage unionizing, and they make sure. There has been reports of Amazon, which is, I'm pretty sure what you guys just voted, that they're going to be able to clean their streets in front of the warehouses. They don't really pay that much taxes here, and a lot of the people who work as delivery drivers have to pee in water bottles, because they have to make the deliveries, or if not, they get fired, and there's their livelihood, and then where else are they going to work? There's nothing else. So I really hope that we can get more creative with these kind of jobs. If we can get some sort of an independent agency to come and see all of the carbon emission and stuff that is going on, because as I came to see, the developers have their own professionals, and those professionals are going to be biased because they're getting paid through the developer. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We have huge opportunity to make the city really beautiful for generations to come instead of this. Whether you've lived here for 6 years or 60 years, you know that the poppies, when they come here, the wildflowers and everything, you can see it. We have a state park here. It could be really beautiful here. And warehouses, they're many things. They're terrible for our environment. They're awful for our physical and mental health. And they discourage unionizing, pay a livable wage. And to top it off, they're so ugly. Nobody wants to wake up to that. As mentioned by the developers, when I spoke to them, they don't really live here. They live in other areas. They compare these warehouses to San Diego. San Diego warehouses pay taxes, lots and lots of taxes. So that's what needs to be done here.
Thank you.
Franco Pacheco.
Hello again. Well, I'm glad that the item's been pulled. I hope that it doesn't come back up with the warehouse and that it's a different type of project. And I see that you have a youth advisory committee representative here, and I wonder if she's here throughout the whole meetings to see when you guys approve these warehouses in the city. And also, I'm kind of disappointed that the union's still not here, because I guess this wasn't that important for them to come and speak on it. See, I'm a part of a union also. I'm a part of ATU, and I know my union wouldn't want to harm the residents that they serve. They do everything they can to help the residents. And also, these warehouses, they need to stop. So it's very disheartening to see that a new one's being built. People are speaking out about it, and I still feel like we never get heard. Maybe you guys will have meetings with us, or maybe one or two of you will vote no, but sometimes it feels like it's just a safe face. And it's not really conductive to creating a better city. Why aren't these warehouses this concentrated in areas like Menifee, Temecula, Wildomar? And it's because they won't let them happen over there. And I wish that this council would use that same logic, that maybe we don't need a big square warehouse that's not good for the environment. It creates a lot of heat during the summer. It's just big blocks of energy with 100+ bays of diesel trucks. The amount of damage that we're doing to the city, we haven't even fixed the underlying problems. Most of these warehouses are built in flood zones. We just had a big storm, and last meeting I was at, they were complaining about how they were getting wet on their way to work or wherever they were going, and there was lakes everywhere. Well, it's because you're building in a flood zone and you're not putting the right infrastructure there to begin with. But you will approve a big, giant warehouse. And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I really hope this whole council and the mayor up some sort of motion or resolution to stop any new warehouse developments until we get the underlying problems that we need to address here fixed first. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Alrighty. Come on up, sir. Sure. You please state your name.
Yes, my name is Eider Vazquez, Eidervazquez. Resided in the city of Paris for well over 20 years. And I'm here tonight to address a really safety concern. There is a project, a housing project being built on the corner of Ramona Expressway and Evans Road. And I believe they're getting ready to build the third phase or final phase of those homes. So the builder digs some trenches along the road on Evans Road, as well as across the road. There's like 3 or 4 areas where they dig. I believe it's for either sewer or electricity, whatever the case it was. They filled it back up with dirt and whatever material they use. But if you go through that road right now and you drive through there, it's not up to par. So that's a heavily trafficked road for thousands of commuters daily. Whether you're going to work or you're dropping off or picking up your kids from school, you will feel the impact on your vehicle. So I'm not talking about a small bump on the road. This is a very significant impact on your vehicle. So we're talking, in the long term, it could mean, tires, alignment, suspension on your vehicle. It could be very expensive.
Okay,
And
now
now-
I gotta interrupt you. 'Cause we're talking specifically for the warehouse on 11.
Oh, I'm sorry.
item
I
C.
thought it was open item.
No, it's not. But I would like to have a staff member address with you. If you can just wait there. I'll have
Website?
Right there, and have a seat, and someone's
All
gonna
right.
come over and take your
I'm so
concerns.
sorry.
No, that's okay. It's quite all right. I know exactly what you're talking about. We're dealing with that in other streets too, but a staff member will come and get some more information from you. Thank you for bringing that up to us. Anybody else wish to speak on 11C? Okay. Gonna move on to 11D. 11D is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order regarding appeal of abandonment determination for PLN 17-05171. This is a medical dispensary application. And this is going to be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. As you mentioned, this is an appeal of a Director of Development Services decision that the applicant abandoned their dispensary application. Before I begin the presentation, I just want to give you the context of the location. The site is located at the northeast corner of Wade and Nance Street. There's existing modular structure at the site, and just east of the 215 freeway. Just to give you some context, there is a picture on the right side of the dispensary that was opened in 2018. From this is Google Maps. From the historical review, they opened before they obtained any permits or approval from the city. In addition, to the right bottom, that's the site plan of the location of the dispensary that should have not opened before they obtained city approval. Just to give you a quick background, during the November 15, 2023 Planning Commission, the Planning Commission considered the appeal of the Director of Development Service decision, and they affirmed that based on the information below, the applicant has expired their approval from the city. For the reason is because as part of the initial approval process, they have 1 year to renew the application, and they never came back to renew those applications. And they should have submitted the application 60 days before the expiration. In this particular case, the medical dispensary application was approved on November 13, 2018, and then the adult use retail application was approved on February 5, 2018. Again, the applicant did not renew the application, and so they have expired. In addition, as part of that approval, they were required to submit what we call a minor mod application. As part of that approval, because they were converting a care facility from the modular structure to a retail use, they were required to provide off-site improvements and improvements to the modular structure. Even with that application, they never came back and renewed that application. The applicant's contention for this appeal is that because they've been working with city staff on the plan approval, that the city should affirm that they should be valid and they should be able to continue that process. In the Planning Commission's review, I'm just going to highlight some of the things they determined why this decision should be made that they have abandoned their application. First and foremost is that the application for the medical should have expired November 13, 2019, and the medical should have expired February 5th, 2020. They never renewed, of course. In that hearing at the Planning Commission, the applicant conceded that they didn't renew the application, just a matter of fact. In addition, when they did obtain approval and they had a set of conditions for them to start their improvement plans and prepare their improvement plans for the building, even though they were approved back in early as 2018, November 2018, it took them a year and a half before they even submitted the off-site improvements, and it took them almost 2 years before they submitted the on-site improvements. And so just in terms of timing, they didn't make, in our opinion, an effort to submit the required plans. In addition, even when they did obtain approval for the off-site improvement in July of 2020, the electrical plans for the building itself in January 6th of 2021, even when they did obtain approval, they never even attempted to pull permits with the city to start construction. In addition, just in terms of what happened, while they're going through this process, they contact our consultant HDL, who does third-party business license review of the city. While they were going through the whole process, they reach out to HDL to obtain a business license illegally. They had no business of even applying for a business license because they should have completed the on-site improvements, off-site improvements, yet they pursued halfway through this process and got HDL to issue a business license in error, which we revoked because they illegally obtained that permit. In addition, the Planning Commission affirmed that based on the record of the approval, based on historical area maps, which we found online, and based on also on Yelp review, which we found online, that's still available. The furthest we could confirm back is April of 2018, before they even submitted those applications, they were already open and operating. Based on the fact that they were operating, they had an extreme competitive advantage with all the operators that were open legally. They did all their improvements before they started their operation. They were open. They were operating, and we assumed that they were generating revenues. We looked at 3 operators that operated that same parameter of time for about 3.5 years. We made an average assessment of they probably should have made $28 million based on the average. There was one dispenser that made up to $44 million between the 3.5-year period. One that made $16 million, and we averaged the 3 out. So in theory, if we just based on the average, they would have generated $28 million. And then if they operated legally, they would have paid the city $2.8 million in taxes. Would they forego, and then they were operating with a huge competitive advantage with other operators in the city of Paris. Lastly, during this whole process, staff worked with the city attorney's office to inform the applicant to close in March of 2020 and in April of 2020. They did not cease operation, even though we got legal counsel involved to ask them to close. We had to work with the sheriff's office. During that period of time, it took us until in August. We got coordination with the sheriff's department, and they only closed because the sheriff's department came to the site to shut them down. And it went between 4 days from August 6th to August 10th of 2021. Just in terms of how we got here, after the sheriff's department closed down the operation, we sent them a notice informing them that we revoked their license. The applicant provided a response appealing the decision. They made a determination that it was revoked, but the term we wrote a follow-up letter saying it was an actual abandonment. There was a mix-up with the terminology. That if it's abandoned, there's no ability to even apply because your application has been abandoned. As a result of that, there was some litigation that happened between the City of Paris and our legal counsel. The court made a decision that we should have a hearing, and that's how we got here from Planning Commission, the appeal from Planning Commission to the City Council. Just in summary, I just want to highlight the main points. There is no revocation of the approval required, as the applicant has already conceded that no permits are issued. As such, an appeal of a revocation is moot. Second, the applicant abandoned their approval because they failed to renew the application, which have automatically expired. In fact, there's no appeal for an expired application. You can't appeal something that has already expired. Fourth, there's no opportunity for them to reapply for a new dispensary because the council in March of 2018 approved a resolution which suspended all new dispensary applications. In conclusion, staff recommends that the City Council adopt resolution next in order, affirming the Planning Commission's decision the applicant, Dynamic Meds, abandoned their medical and adult use dispensary applications based on their non-renewal of their application and based on the fact that their permits have expired, and the findings is in the staff report and in the resolution. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Fung. Council, anybody have any questions? Councilman Corona? Rab?
No questions.
All right, this time we're going to open up the public hearing. 7:34. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I didn't believe this was a public comment thing. My name's Lawrence Bynum. I actually represent Dynamic Meds in this process. I thought I'd have an opportunity to speak without having to announce in advance, but if not, my mistake. May I proceed?
Sure.
All right, very good. Again, my name's Lawrence Bynum. I'm the attorney for Dynamic Meds here. What you just missed in all of that were two critical dates. In May of 2021, the planning department emailed my client and said, your plans are ready. May. In September, they say we abandoned them. That's nonsense. City took over $10,000 in permit fees in that 5-month period. What really happened here is the city just didn't want my client to be operating anymore, but they took the pretext, abandonment. There is no evidence whatsoever between May of 21 and September of 2021 that this was abandoned. They were working on this full-time. There are over 300 emails. I cannot see on your desk, but we submitted over 500 pages of evidence for this hearing. I hope you got an opportunity to look at that. Can't see that, but if you look on page 298 and 299, you can see that the 3 sets of permits were approved. In September 7th was the deadline of the alleged abandonment, and on September 3rd, there was supposed to be a meeting before this very council for a landscape maintenance district. The automatic approval that we just sat through earlier tonight. But that was pulled by the city volunteers. So we have hundreds of emails from the city, not once say it's abandoned. The city is very much aware of the delay. Admittedly, there was a delay between the permit application and the approval, but it was approved in May of 2021, and on September, they're claiming it was abandoned. My clients were trying to get this thing built during that time. They did not abandon it. 2 dates you need to remember, 6 months apart. Actually, it's less than that, it's 4 months apart. May to September. There is no abandonment. There was no intent to relinquish any rights to this. My clients were diligently working. Check the emails. There's over 200 of them, many of them with Mr. Fung himself, certainly with his department, all trying to get these approval done. The city, in particular this department, unilaterally declared abandonment nonsense. My client appealed. We were promised an appeal. We were lied to. I had to go to court. My client had to pay me to get this hearing 2 years later because the city unilaterally decided that that 4-month period constituted abandonment. And that's simply wrong. I know you have those hundreds of pages there. I doubt you got to review it, but I am here to
Thank you. Council, anybody have any questions? Councilman Rab?
Just a question for the members of the dais. Is there a set of documents that you guys received today?
No. Who did you submit those emails to?
I'm sorry, all those information that the applicant referenced in the link, so there's about 500 or more pages.
Okay. Have it.
On the
So for
agenda?
clarification, it's in the staff report.
In the staff report?
Yeah,
Okay.
all 500 plus documents.
Got it.
In the link, in the link.
Separate link? All right, any other questions? Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to speak on this item? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:39. Any more discussion from the council? Okay, now, hearing that, I'll call for a motion on the resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Corona. Please call a roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rab?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers, absent. Mayor Vargas?
Yes.
4-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 12 is business items. 12A is consideration to approve the fiscal year 23-24 mid-year budget amendments. This will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Mr. Matthew Schenk.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is not my presentation. Tonight, we are presenting the fiscal year 23-24 mid-year budget adjustments. Hard to believe we only have about 4.5 months left. And lastly, I'll close out with an update on the ARPA expenditures. This item was presented to the Ways and Means on January 25th, and it was their recommendation to move forward with City Council. First, where does the revenue come in from for the general fund? Largest item is $28.2 million sales and use tax, makes up about 38% of the general fund revenue. Next is property tax coming in at 12%, or just over $9 million. Transfers in, we have $6.6 million, or 9% of the general fund. Next, we have vehicle license fee in lieu coming in at $9.2 million, or 13%. Other taxes, a combination of multiple accounts, makes up 17%, or $12.1 million. Next, we have cannabis tax is budgeted at $5.2 million for making up 7% of the general fund. And lastly, at 4%, we have franchise fees coming in just over $3.1 million. So how does the city spend this general fund revenue? Sorry, I apologize, it's supposed to go from highest amount to lowest, but we'll start with IT. Information technology, just over $2.8 million, 4%. Largest expenditure is police, just over $24 million, or 32%. Fire comes in at 10% of the general fund, $7.3 million. And just as a note, the two combined, 42%, is very common with all cities of public safety, using up about that portion of the general fund. Community services coming in at 13%, just over $10 million. Public Works coming in at $7.6 million, or 10%. Development Services, $9.7 million, or 13%. Our new in-house engineering department coming in at $3.5 million, or 5%. Administration comes in at $8.1 million, or 11%. And then finance comes in at $1.4 million, or 2%. On to the actual budget amendments. I'm going to go into more higher level overview. All the specific details are in the staff report. You have 3 columns here. On the left is the original approved budget. This is a 2-year budget. We are in our first year of the 2-year budget. First column is the, like I mentioned, already approved. Middle column is the proposed amendments. And the far right column is what the, if approved by the council tonight, well, it would be our approved budget. With the amendments in total revenue, you can see we are increasing by 4.9 million. Expenditures, we are increasing by 2.4 million for a projected surplus on the amendments of 2.5 million. For the fiscal year combined with these amendments, we're projecting a surplus of 1.1 million. Just some comparison as far as the requested amendments we have. The first column you see there were the prior year mid-year budget amendments. Revenues, we increased a year ago at 5.3. This year, we're at 4.9 increase. Expenditures, in the prior year, we increased 3.1 million. This year, we are increasing 2.4 million. So just giving a comparison, if you get a sticker shock on these amendments, it's consistent with prior years. Now we'll go into the individual departments, just some higher level, more material items. I won't list every single one of them. General fund revenue, like I said, we're requesting an increase of 4.9 million. Major items in that is 3.9 million increase in miscellaneous revenue. This is the city's portion of the land sale from Marsh Joint Powers Authority Upper Plateau. 400,000 increase in current year unsecured taxes, and $280,000 increase in plan check engineering. Later on, you'll see some increases in engineering department expenses. Here, this is some of the offset. Development services, total increase of $536,000. Apologize, we are in the expenditures now. We're out of the revenues. Development services increased $536,000. $408,000 of that is increase in contract services, and $28,000 is an increase in software acquisition. Community services, total request of $543,000, $97,000 for contract staffing, $230,000 increase in parks maintenance and utilities, $145,000 in contract services. Public Works, total increase of $352,000, $120,000 is an increase in vehicles to be used in code enforcement, $47,000 increase in auto maintenance, and $30,000 increase in fuel. Information technology, total increase of $105,000, $60,000 increase for info technology services, and $35,000 increase in contract staffing. Administration, total increase of $100,000 for professional services. Internal services, total increase request of $123,000, $43,000 increase in telephone expense, $80,000 increase in internet. Lastly, finance, total increase of $143,000, $130,000 increase in contract staffing, and $9,000 increase in professional development. I apologize, there is one more. Our newest department, engineering, total increase of $500,000, and that is all going into contract services. And like I mentioned earlier, this is offset by the increase in the revenues of engineering revenues. Next, we'll jump into the reserves. Here we have 3 years. Fiscal year 21-22 is audited, so that is a final number. 22-23 and 23-24 obviously are not audited yet, so those are subject to change. To give an example of that, when I presented this a year ago for 21-22, originally we were projecting 55.2 million, and after audit, we came out with a total reserves of 58 million, so just over 3 million increase on the reserves. 22-23, you can see, let me step back. So there's 4 categories on the reserves. There's non-spendable, committed, assigned, and unassigned. Non-spendable is a requirement that covers prepaid items and deposits. We have to put that to the side. We can't touch that. Committed is the 35% threshold that the council approved years ago as minimum reserve policy. These amounts are set aside for current year expenditures to ensure that we have enough money for the current fiscal year, if for some reason there was no longer any other revenue coming in. Assigned, this is set by the city council as well. This stays constant at $6.2 million. This is made up by disaster preparedness of $3.4 million, vehicles and equipment of $0.3 million, major capital improvement of $1.3 million, and a budget contingency of $200,000. Lastly, the unassigned. These are also known as uncommitted. These are the monies that we can use if the council wishes. There you can see we are projecting from 21-22 of $23 million to $37 million on unassigned. And for the current fiscal year, with the budget amendment I've presented, we're projecting an unassigned reserve balance of $39.8 million. Total reserves for 22-23, the percentage of total reserves is projected at 101%, while 23-24, I believe, is 105%. Again, those are unaudited numbers, so they are subject to change. We don't expect a big change. This is the same information, but more easier to look at visually. The left column on those three are the non-spendable. The gray is the committed. Next is the assigned. And lastly, the far right bar is the unassigned. And lastly, we'll go into the American Rescue Plan Act, otherwise known as ARPA. This was signed on March 11, 2021. It's a $1.9 trillion package to combat COVID-19. City of Paris received installments for a total of $22.1 million. And on August 26 of 21, City approved the uses of ARPA. This is the status as of December 31st, 2023. We have received the full $22 million. As of 12/31/23, we have spent $12.3 million. And just above that, you'll see my status I gave as of April 30th of $9.9 million. So we've gone from 45% up to 56%. So just wanted to show that the city is continuing to spend these ARPA expenditures. There was an original deadline of 12/31/24. However, that has been extended an additional 2 years to 12/31/26. We do still have $9.7 million, but everything is, when I do these meetings with the different departments, we ensure that the timelines are going to be met to ensure that those monies are spent before the deadline. And before I take any questions, I believe Deputy City Manager Ernie Reyna has something.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I have an exciting announcement I'd like to make to you regarding an award that the City Finance Department and the city has received. Now, as my status as president of the California Society of Municipal Finance Officers, I'm pleased to announce that the City of Paris did win the award for budgeting for our fiscal year 23-24 and 24-25 fiscal years. So I do have an award here that I'd like to present to Matt, and perhaps may have the council come down and take it. We have this here that I'd like to present to him. So.
And it has nothing to do that Ernie's president. Want to hold it?
It's yours, isn't it?
It's yours.
You can hold it. There's no check with that?
Not yet.
It's in the mail.
Not yet.
Yeah, figured before they ask the questions.
So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Shanks. Great report. Councilman, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so for clarification, our the surplus that we have, or in our reserves, what percentage is that of our revenues?
Well, when we balance budget, the revenues and expenditures are nearly identical. Okay. So it'd be 105% of our revenues and expenditures.
For our reserves. Are there any cities that have that, I mean, that type of percentage? I mean, that's...
You know, I've asked around about 6 other cities. Some are, for example, Rancho Mirage is up at 90%. The neighboring cities, Riverside 41%, Hemet's at 40%. So within the cities right near us, no, typically it's not that high.
Okay. And like a city like Hemet has a sales tax too, which City of Paris have a sales tax.
That's
so,
correct.
So that's amazing. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Councilman Rab, do you have any questions? All right. Thank you, Mr. Shank.
Thank you.
Great report. Keep it going. Madam Clerk, do we have any comments on this
No, sir.
from the public? Anybody wishing to speak on this item? David, did you have anybody? I'm sorry, Councilman Rab.
here.
Okay, thank you. All right, this time I'll call for a motion on the mid-year budget amendments. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava. Second by Councilman Corona. Please call roll call vote.
Councilmember Nava?
Yes.
Councilmember Corona?
Yes.
Councilmember Rab?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rogers? Absent. Mayor Vargas?
Yes,
4-0, motion approved.
thank you. All right, 12B was moved up earlier. We already dealt with that one. Takes us to council communications. We'll start with Councilman Rab.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vargas. I'd like to first start off by thanking staff for facilitating my appearance via Zoom. I had something that my work life kept me till 4:30 out here in Victorville, and I knew I wouldn't be able to make the 5:30 closed session, so I'm Zooming in, which is allowed by the Brown Act. I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming out and speaking today regarding an item that they're extremely passionate on. I'd like to meet with you guys in the future. I will be unavailable this week, but sometime next week or the weekend after. My email is dsrabb@cityofparis.org, dsrabb@cityofparis.org. In the interim, I direct your attention to the July 13th, 2010 council meeting. Once again, July 13th, 2010 council meeting. At that meeting, and there might be a series of other meetings, but this is my research. It's available on the website. At that meeting, the council as currently constituted approved the South Paris industrial projects. That included the projects along Redlands to the freeway by 7th Street bounded by Ellis, a project across the street from the airport, and then the 2010 project that was approved at Mapes, Ellis, and Getz. And the project was fully entitled in 2010, so the developer could have built that project all the way up to 2026. So you can have it, when you get time at your leisure, please review that meeting. I think it starts about 40 minutes in, July 13th, 2010, then we can meet if you'd like to meet. Once again, my email is dsrabb@cityofparis.org. Feel free to give me an email. We'll set aside a meeting. I'd like to thank staff for just putting on some great events. I have the opportunity to come to them. I've been engaged in the trial, but just want to wish everyone a happy Black History Month. We have a few days left, and sending my thoughts and prayers out to my council colleague, Rita Rogers. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. I too want to thank the speakers. I think I got several emails, and I feel like I responded to pretty much all of them. But if there's ever an issue or a question on my past voting or anything, I'm always happy to meet with any resident with regards to it. And so go ahead and reach out, email me. to discuss any issues. I want to give a special thank you to the staff for putting on a great event, the multicultural event that we had this weekend. It wasn't heavily attended, but it was still a wonderful event, and with the food was excellent as well too. But it was a great event. But thank you for putting that event on. Also wanted to give a special thank you for the Chamber of Commerce for the wrestling event, bringing professional wrestling to the Bob Glass Gym here. I know I took my boy and my brothers actually went too, and we had a lot of fun. Just good to see that the mayor was also part of the show too. So it was definitely a great event too. Want to give a special thank you to Arturo Garcia at that event. The fire alarm kept going off and off and off, and Arturo Garcia was getting up and disabling the alarm and stuff like that. Another huge special thank you to the Public Works during the rain. I mean, we saw big storms coming in, and the roads were closed, and I saw driving by the parks and seeing some of our Public Works in waist deep water trying to clear out some of the channels and drainage canals and stuff like that. So very special thank you to our Public Works. That's all the comments from me though. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Alba?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to again express gratitude and a great thank you to all our public comment speakers tonight on a very sensitive and important topic. So I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules. I'd also like to follow along with those comments regarding our Public Works Department. I know that the City of Paris has made a PSA for any potholes. So if you do encounter potholes, please go ahead and reach out. There's a phone number and email available to report those potholes after the heavy storm that we had. And then my last comments is just wishing everyone a happy Valentine's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. We had a long meeting at the last meeting, so I carried over my notes. Just wanted to reiterate the U.S. Conference of Mayors, our federal lobbyist talked a little bit about what was going on out there, but I did attend our meetings for the Mayors Alliance to End Childhood Hunger, as well as programs and classes being offered for the childhood obesity programs, and both of those line up with the Alliance programs that I'm still working with staff to get going here in the city of Paris. The Mayor's Guaranteed Income to work towards our aging out youth are going to school. We're basically still at the point where we're working with the State Department of State officials as well as the county to identifying those actual numbers so we can figure out how much money we're going to need to get this program going. Metrolink annual workshop we held this year, starting to improve ridership. Paris Valley line is pretty tough trying to get from here to LA. It's a pretty long time. But they are going to run additional running times to help get people going back and forth, so that's a good thing. We did have our not us, but the Paris Valley Historical Committee had their annual Fred T. Paris Day. This year they honored Frank and Shirley Gill as the Heritage Family of 2024. They were known for starting a survival ministry in 1978 to help feed the needy persons in Paris. They started by helping out just a few families, which ultimately grew to approximately 700 families by the 1980s. Regrettably, Frank passed away in 2001. Shirley continued her work as she retired in 2020. She still is alive today. She's 92 years old and still lives in Paris. So kudos to the Gill family. And just to reiterate back with Metrolink, they do have this Student Adventure Pass. This was a pilot program that's still going on, and basically any student with a student ID card gets to ride Metrolink for free. We also have the Mobility for All program. This is for Metrolink passengers with the California Electronic Benefit Transfer, the EBT card. They get to ride for 50% off, so just keep those in mind. I had a great meeting with staff and a group called IE Lowrider Alliance / Uniques Car Club. We kind of dropped the ball, I guess, during COVID, what have you, with our backpack giveaways. So this group, it was our last one that they had held a few years back. They are coming back. My goal with them is we're aiming for at least 1,500 backpacks, if not more, but the minimum is going to be 1,500. So community services working with the group and myself, and eventually they will take over, and obviously fall to the side there and let them do business. But it's going to be a great program. We had our job shadow day. Councilman Corona, you were there. We missed you this year. It was a great turnout. Actually, it was a fantastic turnout. This program is really getting bigger and bigger. You mentioned the Multicultural Festival. Mr. Buck, can please get us some numbers of attendance? And then you mentioned the wrestling. Everybody thought I was going to get in the ring, but no, I don't think so. But I did get in there, but I just didn't fight. All right, thank you, everybody. The next one, and again, thank you to all our guest speakers as who come out. I do appreciate when people do come out of their time and share their comments with City Council. It's important. Item 14, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I'd like to recognize the Public Works Department. They put together a very successful Arbor Day event on January 20th. There were a total of about 135 trees that were planted at 2 locations. There were about 70 volunteers, and this was made possible through a grant by CAL FIRE and also through the Amplifying the Urban Forest organization. So we'd like to present a highlight video to share how the day went. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great project. Glad to see that A Street, I think, finally got completed. All right, awesome. So looking for more of those projects to come. All right, 15 is our adjournment. We thank everybody for coming and for watching on social media. We will end our meeting at 8:06.